Okay, Navy. You don't know a lot about it, okay? So let's take a deep dive into one of the mechanics of Navy that you don't know a lot about, but it can take your Navy game to the next level. So here comes the biggest tips for naval warfare in Hearts of Iron 4, and it is all about this. See this button here? Refitting is a thing. You probably even forgot it even existed. And there's a lot of things you can do wrong, and there's some really cool things you can do right to make your ships the next possible level. Okay, to dumb this down, to make it nice and easy, what I'm going to do is select my Navy, merge it up, and we're going to grab the Panzer Sniff and delete all the other ships. For the most part, German Navy in 1936 is pretty bad. Not only are a lot of the ships very small, but a lot of them are under-equipped as well, technologically, and with a lack of arsenal as well, and lack of guns. So here we go, the Deutschland class Panzerschniff, basically a special ship for Germany, which is like a heavy cruiser hull, but with guns of an actual heavy hull. It's a decent ship. It's basically a little glass cannon. It doesn't have as much armor, it doesn't have as much HP, but it has the firepower. It's the short guy who can punch really hard. So the first thing is, what is refitting? So instead of producing a ship at the full cost here, 6,567, you refit an existing ship and make modifications to it at a significant discount of building a brand new ship. So in this case, let's click onto this ship and let's let this anti-air module slot and then move it from anti-air 1 to anti-air 2, giving us a little bit of anti-air power and a little bit extra production cost. Be aware, it has got an XP requirement cost to make these adjustments. It will cost naval XP. We'll cheat that in for now. But if you want to exercise your fleet, which gives lots of XP, that's an easy way of gaining XP to modify your existing design. So it's renamed, it's the Panzer Schniff B, and it has a refit cost. Now, if you hover over the refit cost, you can see these numbers. Look, this has a production cost of 836, and it will take a total of 57 days to complete this refit, compared to if you produced it brand new. It doesn't give a breakdown there, but it would take significantly longer. We're talking about at least 2 years with 1936 technology. So you would save that, Panzerschniff B, we'll select one of the Panzerschniffs, click on the refit ship, and then you got the Panzerschniff B here, and it will take 57 days. You hit OK, you go into your production queue, and there it is there. You can see them. Panzerschniff will be completed and converted to the Model B, which will complete on the 7th of March, 1936. Make a little mental note of those production output modifiers. Can you see that? Limited exports and stability. Those factors are very important to make these refits as quick and efficient as possible. So let's be realistic. Let's actually fit this ship as if we were going to improve upon the existing design. So we'll get rid of the Panzerschniff B and go back to the original Deutschland class. And then we'll go into this. Now, if you wanted to, you could just make the game auto-upgrade an existing ship for you. So for every existing module, it will upgrade it to the next technological form. So in this case, we upgrade it. You can see we've got AA2, Torpedo 2. It's upgraded the armor, the light armament, the engine. And I think those are the upgrades. Now, the problem with this is it's upgraded a few things you shouldn't upgrade. Okay, and the total time to produce this ship and refit it will now be 267 days. For a refit, that's not realistic. That's going to take way too long. And practically, to be honest with you, you probably are better at producing a brand new ship with the kind of cost that you're going to go with this. To all fairness, the maximum refit cost for a ship probably be like 1,500. Any more than that, it's just not really worth your time to refit it. So what's kind of gone wrong here? Why is this so expensive? There are some elements and modules that you should just never refit, and the main one is engine. Now, in this case, we've not actually upgraded the engine because it is still the original design on the original engine, so that's not a big deal. However, there is another one, and that's armor. The Cruiser 1 armor here has a plus 10% extra production cost on top of the ship, and then it goes up to a plus 15. Because you're making basically almost a new ship by stripping down basically the existing design, it kind of defeats the purpose of refitting. Refitting is to technologically update your ship and bring it up to date with a more modern, up-to-date armament. It's not really a disassembling an entire ship and rebuilding it again. And unfortunately, refitting armor is on par with that. So you see that the original armor is 1,100 refit cost, which is realistic. And then armor 2, it goes up to almost 4,000. It's just not worth improving the armor. The next thing to worry about is the big armaments, the actual big batteries. And the original battery here was the battery 2. In this case, it's not actually upgraded that, but be aware that if it did upgrade that, that would be an unbelievably large cost. So now we actually have a realistic upgrade going on here. 1,100 production cost. It'll take 75 days with the max amount of dockyards applied. And we can add on sonar as well if we wanted to for a little bit of detection. There's not a lot of point adding sonar onto this because it doesn't have any depth charges anyway, so it'll be pointless. Top it off, we're not really going to be spotting with the ship. This is going to be a fighting ship, so we get rid of the aircraft facilities, add an extra battery on there, and maybe another battery. Yeah, does that look pretty good to me? Yeah, that looks pretty good. This is basically a fighting capital ship now, with a production refit cost of 1,628. This is realistic now. Let's just say you've got a ship and it's your pride and joy, and you want to refit it to roleplay, basically. Feel free to upgrade the armor, the engine, and the main batteries. But just be aware, if you ever do that, there will be a big cost behind it, and it's not cost effective. Anyway, save this. Boom. We have the Panzerschniff C. Select the 2 ships. Refit Panzerschniff. It's going to take a total amount of 110 days. So now if you go 5-speed, they're going to be repaired. And as you can see now, 3rd of May 1936, these ships will be upgraded. Honestly, hand on heart, that's still a little bit too long, but there's loads of little things we can modify to improve this. See that green number there? Let's improve this. So first of all, if we go to free trade, that's another easy improvement. Take it down to 25th of April. Realistically, at the very start of the game, we're going to be working on our industry as well, and anything that improves dockyard output will improve your ability to refit. Remember, it's 1936. We're probably going to be pushing it to disperse 1 or 2. And maybe 3 is probably more realistic. That's improved it from the 25th of April to the 6th of April. These are technologies you would normally do in any game of Hoi 4 anyway, so don't worry about this. You're not neglecting your infantry or tanks. Also, you can improve your stability too. Easy to do worker conditions, and there's a bunch of other little smaller things you could do by getting more control of your ideology. Or as Germany, for instance, you can also go for political loyalty, which every bit of fascist support that you've got in your nation will give you a maximum of up to 15% extra stability. That with worker conditions will give you 100% stability when at peace, and that changes it from the 6th of April to, funnily enough, it's just still the 6th of April because it actually hasn't updated. 13.6%, that's not actually the maximum amount, so that looks like it doesn't actually update on the fly, that one. What if we cancel it and redo it again? Refit. It is taking advantage of the 20% stability, but funnily enough, that date hasn't changed. It doesn't look like stability makes a difference, even though it does say if you hover over stability, it gives dockyard output. Why? I don't know. One other note, a little bit of a hidden thing. This was added in Together for Victory, and you've probably already forgotten about it. But if you've gone for 10 focuses, so we're just going to blitzkrieg 10 focuses. You've got the option to unlock a continuous focus. And what you can do is hop into here, 20% extra dockyard output. And once again, even though it shows in green that that's an actual improvement to refitting of ships, it's actually not made an actual impact. Confusingly, there are some tooltips here that don't seem to make a difference. But what we found is dispersed industry is a biggie. All the other ones, unfortunately, don't seem to make an impact. I have a funny suspicion refitting and producing a new ship aren't the same thing, and only some of these production modifiers are actually having an impact. And there's one more. Now this one is a real biggie. They added this when they added the officer corps. If you go into Spirit of the Navy and naval refit yards, this one is mad OP. 15% extra repair speed and 25% refitting speed. So we select that, and you now drop down to the 6th of April. As you can see, these differences aren't massive. They're just little tiny incremental changes. But overall, if you have the ability to refit a ship significantly quicker, you always really want to go for that. Let's go for an unrealistic scenario, though. Let's just say you completed your dispersed industry. Another question probably going to ask as well, just here, a brief pause for a moment, is the equipment conversion speed 40%, 40%? Does it make any impact? For the sake of it, we'll do it anyway. But remember, we've just researched the 2 dispersed industries, so we are going to get an improvement regardless. We're now down to the 2nd of April. And as you can see, look, dispersed industry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give it an extra plus 10% industrial refitting speed. Okay, we'll convert one of them, but then the other one will keep as the old model. And we'll wait until the 2nd of April. There we go, the Panzerschniff C has been converted. You click on it, click design, you can see it is this existing model, but the other one is the old design. Here's the good question here. Is there any dockyard outputs that are built within the focus tree that are actually going to make a worthwhile improvement? That's a really, really good question. And reducing the cost of the heavy ships make any difference? That's another really good question. Let's give an example here. Let's see if we can do rebuild the high seas fleet. Not usually a focus that Germany has the ability to do, but let's just see if it makes an impact. So 8th of June. It's gone from the 8th of June now to the 13th of June. How is this actually working? I really don't know. A final note that's quite important is there's going to be a lot of technology you're going to research that gives you more opportunity to improve your ships. I'm just going to go over lightly here some of the upgrades that are really worth refitting. So the light turrets. 100% worth it. The production cost is very low. You can also go for the dual purpose batteries as well. They've got a reasonable cost behind them as well. Either adding a brand new module or upgrading a previous one is a good idea. The medium ones, unfortunately, are not worth it. The production cost is just too high, so don't bother with that. Also, the heavy batteries, don't bother with the cost with that. They just cost way too much. It's just not worth it. Upgrading the torpedoes are 100% worth it. Definitely want to do that. Of course, all the passive bonuses, you want to do those ones as well. For instance, the best ones here are the fire control methods. These are amazing, giving big increases to light and heavy attack, as well as the passive ones here. For instance, the different actual shells being used to be fired. These gives passive bonuses. It's always worth to go for those ones as well. Same up, torpedoes, sonar, the catapults, always worth it. Reasonable cost, so it's worth it. Also, the snorkels. It's debatable because submarines are quite cheap, so it might even be worth the cost behind that one. For the most part, it is reasonable cost, so it shouldn't be a long upgrade. Unless you've got really specialized, expensive submarines, it's probably not worth it. Next up, when it comes down to the actual hulls with the engines with them, it's always a straight no. You never want to upgrade an engine on a ship. And I think the reason why they've done this is it just never really happened. You had to strip down basically the entirety of the rear end of the ship to implant a new engine into there. It was incredibly rarely done, and it basically was building a new ship anyway, so it was completely pointless. And when it comes down to armor as well, armor is worth it. From a historical perspective, this did happen a lot. However, the result of refitting just costs way too much, so it's just not worth it. I would not recommend it. So just to summarize, engine, no. Armor, no. And heavy batteries, no. But for mostly everything else is a yes. As a bit of a side note, there are a few countries that have national focuses that give national spirits, that give boosts to repair speed. In this case, Britain has expanded the repair yards, which you can see here, gives refitting speed as well as refitting cost. How those two work together, I'm not sure, but overall, it really is worth it. So, taking into account all the things I've said, there's one kind of smaller upgrade that you can make that is always worth your time, and this is radar, as well as the fire control systems as well, the ballistic computers. These flat give bonuses to anti-air ability, as well as a chance to hit for your light and heavy attack. But to take it to the next level as well, it also gives extra detection abilities for surface detection and sub-detection as well, which is something all ships will benefit from overall anyway. And the production cost for this one is incredibly low. In this case, we'll go for the Panzerschnipsnee to pop on the most advanced radar and pop on the most advanced fire control. The refit cost in this case is only going to be 36 days. And for the most part, if there's an upgrade you want to add to the entirety of your fleet, those are the two ones you want to make. And for the most part, they're practically freebies too, if you take into account all the previous upgrades that I have mentioned. In this case, Panzerschnipsnee upgrade to add on the latest radar and the latest fire control. At the end of the day, when you're playing as, let's say, any nation 1936, you may have a big navy if you're one of the major powers, but unfortunately, a lot of that ship is going to be out of date pretty quickly, and the only way that you can keep it up with the rest of the world and actually keep it up to its fighting capabilities is to add on a more advanced fire control, as well as a more advanced radar. This also can apply, let's say, if you're a smaller nation and you're using the new peace conference mechanic to hoover up ships in peace conferences. And when you do that, you'll find yourself with an absolutely huge out-of-date fleet. And if you want to do such an unbelievably easy upgrade, even though it might be quite micro-intensive, you can refit all those old ships. Unfortunately, refitting is a little bit confusing at the moment because some of the production modifiers don't show initially in-game. However, if you are looking to take advantage of refitting, there are some really good options to improve your ships and give them just a little bit of extra firepower. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And this is the video that would come next to this. If you love Hoi 4, you love map games, you love strategy, and this is next for you. This one. Ooh.